Hello, I'm Emma Desi, and welcome to another episode of Turning Readers into Writers. If you're brand new here, welcome, and here's what you need to know. This is a community that believes you are never too old to write your first novel. No matter what you've been up to until now, if you're ready to write your book, I'm ready to help you reach the end. I focus on helping you find the time and confidence to begin your writing journey, as well as the craft and skills you need to finish the book. Each week I interview debut authors, editors and industry experts to keep you motivated, inspired and educated on all things writing, editing and publishing. If you want to catch up, head on over to emmadesi.com where you'll find a wealth of information and tools to help you get started. Before we dive in, this week's episode is brought to you by my free cheat sheet, 30 Top Tips to Find Time to Write. In this guide, I give you 30 ways that you can find time to write in the small gaps that appear between the various errands and tasks and responsibilities that you have in your day-to-day life. Now, you might be thinking that you don't have any time to spare, but I can guarantee these top tips will give you writing time you didn't think you had. If you thought writing always involved a pen and paper or a keyboard, think again. If you thought you needed at least an hour at a time to write your manuscript, I help you reframe that. You won't be disappointed. Get your free copy of 30 Top Tips to Find Time to Write by going to emmadesi.com/30 Top Tips. Okay, let's dive in to today's episode. Yuktha Asrani loves writing challenging and inspiring stories within the genre of romance. Being a hardcore fan of rom-coms, action and suspense, her stories are a rollercoaster ride of emotions, mystery and slow-burn romance. Her characters are relatable, engaging and fun to read. Her female characters are strong and her male characters are not afraid to show their vulnerability. She initially started off by penning down poems, and one fine day she just set out to write a story, which soon turned into a series of novels, and her love for books is deep-rooted. Alongside working, she carves out time each day to read and write in order to keep the momentum going. And making new friends and connections with her readers always brightens her day, and at the end of our conversation today you'll find out how to do exactly that. I had a lovely chat with Yuktha, and one of the things that really came through for me is her willingness to learn and recognising that we all have to start somewhere, but with every book that we write, with every learning that we take on, we become better writers and better storytellers. And I know that Yuktha's just at the beginning of a fine career ahead of her. I've read one of her novels and just loved it, and I'm sure you will too if you choose to read it. It's really, really wonderful. So I will stop chatting and instead we'll move on to the chat with Yuktha. Well, hi Yuktha. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's really lovely to chat with you again.
Hey Emma, thank you so much for having me here. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
A pleasure. I wondered, I've read your bio in the introduction. I've told people about your biography, and in it you say that you love rom-com stories, and in fact that's what you write as well. And I wondered if you could just share with us what it is about that type of story that you really enjoy so much.
So basically, growing up, I have read a lot of books, so much so that I felt incomplete if I did not have a novel with me at all times. And I have always been drawn towards romance, be it romantic books, romance fiction or rom-coms. So that's what I felt was my strong suit. And that's why I do watch a lot of action and mystery as well, and I have read a lot of Sidney Sheldon too. So, yeah, but somehow I'm more inclined towards romance fiction novels.
And is that because you're a sort of romantic at heart, and that you love the sort of roses and hearts and Cupid and all that?
Yeah, I do wear my heart on my sleeve. Yeah. But so I am a hopeless romantic, yes.
Lovely. Well, I wondered if you wouldn't mind just sort of telling us a little bit about your journey to writing, and how you kind of transition from corporate life to a writing life.
Yeah, sure. Basically, so my journey as a writer started almost a year and a half ago. I write contemporary romance fiction with an element of suspense and action. When I initially decided to write, little did I know I would complete a project worthy publishing, let alone writing an entire series. I have published 2 books till date titled Handcuffed to Love and Beautiful Mess. And as a newbie, I was oblivious to the fact that writing a book comes with its set of rules and regulations. Not rules and not hardcore rules and regulations, but rules and regulations nonetheless. Writing a book is no cakewalk, for me at least. Having said that, I wrote my first book in under 2 months just because, like I previously mentioned, I was blissfully unaware that there were a lot of concepts to consider while writing a script, which I hadn't inputted back then. So the whole transition of me from corporate life to, I do continue to work. I for an art consultancy firm now, but that's a freelance base. So I try and juggle both at a time.
Yeah. So the freelancing must give you not in whole freedom, but an element of freedom to choose what project you work on, and if you decide that you're going to take a break to focus on your writing, or do you find that you work and write at the same time?
Yeah, so it's very crucial to ensure that you have it all spaced out. So I ensure that I do not overlap things. I give enough time to the tasks assigned to me on the work front, and likewise I try my best to dedicate time to ensure that I put in a couple of worthy content for my stories as well in a day. So I balance both.
Okay, so the work that you do, the sort of paid work that you do, does that tend to be 9 to 5, or is it more shift work?
No, it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's a part-time job. Prior to this company, I worked for 7 years with a company where we used to curate reading programs for children. So I have always been surrounded by books. That's
Lovely.
my passion.
Yeah. And so do you find that work, because often a lot of the people I speak to, they have a creative time of the day. So some people write best in the morning, some people write best in the evening. When do you find that you write and you get to have that dedicated time for your writing? Do you work well in the evening, or is it the morning for you?
So basically, I'm a night owl.
Okay.
Yeah, I love to work at my own pace, and I am more comfortable when there are not many distractions around. I have always been the kind, be it when I used to study back in school and college, or now, I need silence, and I do not need any chaotic sounds around. So I prefer to write in the night when I can focus on my task.
I see. And yes, because I've been to Delhi and I know that it's very, very busy. And so to find a quiet time would be the middle of the night.
Yes. I stay in Bangalore.
Of course, yes.
Yes.
I'm
That's
getting
down.
mixed up with your story, because your story is
Correct.
set in Delhi. Beg your pardon.
True.
I
I'm so
wanted to
glad
come
you
back.
picked up my book.
I wanted to come back to something that you said before, which was that when it came to writing a novel, you realized that the novel writing has its own sort of rules and regulations. And so for you, is this something that you knew of already, or did you find that you needed to do some extra sort of study around that and learning around how to structure a story?
Yes, definitely. What never in my wildest dreams had I ever imagined I would become an author. So one fine day, this random idea struck me, and I was like, sure, why not? Why not? Try writing a book.
Oh.
I pleasantly surprised myself when the words started flowing. And post the completion of my first draft, is when I got introduced to various vlogs and authortube channels, and I had done a couple of researches on Google, and that's when I was introduced to this whole new treasure trove of information from established authors and editors, and I learned a lot from that. I a lot of knowledge from that, and I tried to impart that in my content, and I had to literally rewrite most parts of my book, and I did my best whatever I could as a debut author. But I am happy to say that I have received a lot of feedback saying my writing has improved over the past two books. So yes, I definitely thank all the information out there which is given in abundance to new authors to grow and learn.
And was there anyone in particular, when, for example, on the AuthorTube channels, was there anyone in particular that resonated with you the most and you learnt the most from?
Yes, so there is this particular author called Jenna Moreci. She is a very, very her YouTube videos are very lively, and she's like very quick with her inputs. So she it's very fast paced, and it grasps the attention of the viewers. And there is I subscribe to obviously your newsletters, which was really extremely beneficial to me. And from Fictionary, that's another, yes, that's another, and there is one more, Natasha. She too is a very good YouTuber. She's an editor basically, a freelance editor, and she has both YouTube videos she shares every week, plus she has written content also, which was really helpful.
You said something as well before there, what I love, which I absolutely love, which is that you've worked hard to study storytelling and how to put it together, that you wrote your first draft, which you really enjoyed, but then knew you still had to do some more study and then rewrote it pretty much, which is, I think, part and parcel of the learning to write a book, learning to structure it in a way that flows and will keep the reader interested. But I'd love that you're acknowledging that it's a learning process, and that you still need to learn. Even when you've written a book, you still need to keep learning. And also the fact that you've acknowledged, you're now 3 books in, I think you're writing your 4th now, and it's every book that you write, you get better, and you've noticed that you're becoming a better writer. Your readers have also commented that you're becoming a better writer, because I think there's a fear amongst writers that they've got to get it perfect the first time round. Was that something that you worried about, or did you acknowledge, do you know what, I'm a new writer, this is my first book, let's see what happens?
Yeah, now that you mentioned, so I was petrified. Literally, literally everyone who first of all, I did not. I was very hesitant to hand out my initial draft. So I obviously gave it to my very close friends and my sister, and because I knew they would not sugarcoat the comments for me. So but they came back with such positive feedback, saying that my writing was very engaging, and that gave me the courage to think about getting into the whole publishing deal. Till then I just wrote it, and I was under the notion that at the most I would just read it. It would just be me who would end up reading my story. But that really boosted my confidence. And then obviously I reworked on the whole thing and improved it, and with the help of the editor, who definitely helped polish the script, I was able to deliver a much better outcome.
Yeah, oh, it's a great, I've read the first one and it's great. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
When we chatted before, you told me that one of the
a part of your process for writing a book is doing the research, that you love doing research. So I wondered if you could give me an example of the type of research you do and where you look when you're doing that research.
Yes, definitely. So that is entirely dependent on the story I'm crafting. My first book, Handcuffed to Love, is a story of an Indian girl and an NYPD detective. So here I did most of my research by watching relevant cop shows, which gave me sufficient insight on all things pertaining to my desired topic. I also read a lot of crime related vlogs and documents, which helped me formulate a powerful action packed storyline. Research is paramount, and I cannot emphasize more on how crucial it is to learn about the stuff that is not in our area of expertise.
Mm.
We need to ensure that our content is legit. Obviously, most books come with an element of fabrication, but I strongly feel there should be realism attached to it. I like my readers to feel connected to the story I write. So I try to give it a more relatable approach. And frankly, I am guilty of spending too much time on researching. Sometimes I don't even use much of the material I have saved, but then I prefer to get all the research over and done with so that it doesn't interrupt my flow once I have begun the writing process.
So you make sure you do all your research up front,
Yes.
or as much as you can do, and then you get to do the writing.
Yes, because I feel it interrupts my flow. It interrupts my whole thought process. So if I am in a very intense scene, and then if I have to go and research back on the technicalities of that scene, I feel that breaks my momentum. So I am of the very strong opinion that the research should be, obviously there are things that you would want to tally, or you would want to go back to and check while writing the story as well. But if majority of the main content is researched, then it shouldn't take much of your time when you sit to write the story.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, no, I think I like that. You don't feel, because I think some people do hide behind research. Are you conscious of that with yourself? Do you have to say to yourself, okay, enough now, I've got enough to do the story, now it's time to sit down and do the hard work of writing the book?
Yes, that's true. That's true. Because, like I said, that I go overboard with research. But then I always like to be, better be safe than sorry.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because, audience are very conscious nowadays of what they are reading.
mm-hmm.
And many are aware of everything. Most of the, if you take a particular genre that you prefer to read about, and it is something which, for example, your readers have read several books over the period of time. So you have to make sure that you know what you're writing, because you cannot just put words. The words have to have meaning. Every word that you put in the story has to have meaning. It should serve a purpose in the story. So that's where I am very conscious about, and that's the reason I take now, off late, in the past two books. Like I said, my previous book, I just just wrote it with that whole notion that I just want to finish a book. But now I'm very conscious with the words I pen down, because I am of the opinion that, see, many people believe that the first draft, you should just write what comes to mind, but I'm not of that opinion.
Okay.
I want the first draft to be, obviously it won't be perfect for sure, but I want it to be somewhere close to the final, because I don't want to spend so much of time and energy in the whole editing process.
Right. So do you find now that you plot ahead, that you plan the story ahead of time so you know what's going to happen?
I am a pantser. I don't plot the entire story as such, but then when I have chalked down a particular scene, I ensure that I write the scene to the best of my capacity. I don't just I follow all the possible grammatical sorry this there's a background noise. I follow the entire grammatical process, and I make sure that everything is in accordance to how a chapter should, there should be a middle, a beginning, and an end. I mean, sorry, a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah. Okay, so you do sort of give some thought ahead of time to what's going to be, how this chapter is going to start, what you want the conflict to be or the drama to be in the middle, and then how it's going to finish off at the end.
Yes, definitely. Because like I mentioned, I have learned through various, various research material that every chapter should be engaging. It should make the reader want to turn the page. So yeah, that, and there are different ways of starting a chapter, different ways of ending a chapter. So I ensured that I had that, what do you call, a mix of everything. You can start with the setting, you can start with the dialogue, and it can, likewise, it can end with the setting, or it can end with a thought, it can end with the dialogue. So I try my best to give it a mix so that the book has, I've covered many things across the book.
Yeah, and that keeps it varied, it keeps it interesting. What's the phrase? You shake it up and use a variety of starting points. That's great.
Correct. Just to captivate the reader, basically. Yes.
And just going back to the research element of it, how do you find that because a question I get asked a lot, particularly from people writing historical fiction, is, okay, I've done all this research, I know all this information, how do I kind of incorporate that into the story without it being obvious that I've done all that research? Do you have a trick for that, or do you find it comes quite naturally?
Yeah, true. So basically, I haven't ventured to write historical fiction, mainly for the reason that when it comes to historical fiction, there's not much you cannot work your way much around it, because it's history, right? So there's not much you can do about tampering the words when it comes to history. So historical fiction is tough, is what I feel. Is tough to write. I write contemporary, which is more, the day-to-day stories. And with research, I use those especially only when there is a technical aspect in the book, because my dialogues and everything are natural. My settings are my own. It's only when I need like, for example, if they are in a particular company in a corporate industry, then I have to ensure that the terms I use are relevant to that particular field. That's when I input my research.
I see. So, for example, Handcuffed to Love, that's part of that set within the construction industry.
That's my second book.
Oh, is that the second one? Oh, I'm getting so mixed up. I thought the first one was when they are the family in India, they have a construction company.
Correct. No? Yes. But there's not much of focus on that because this story is based out of New York. So here there's more focus on the NYPD aspect, and she's a journalist. So I had to do research on how it is in the UK. In New York. How is the work culture there and everything. So that's what I had to, because I have not been to New York. So I had to make sure that when I had to read about Brooklyn and a couple of other references that I made. So with that, according to that, I had to go back and find out all the details pertaining to that.
Well, it amazes me that you say that you've not been to New York, because one of the things I really did like and really noticed about your writing is the dialect that you use. So when the character is in India, for example, the Indian English is really specific. It's a very specific way of speaking English. And then when you switch to New York, of course, there's a very specific way of speaking New York English there. And I thought you did that really, really well. Was that something that was hard for you to do, to sort of get into that rhythm of the New York dialect? Or did you find that actually you'd read enough books, you'd seen enough movies, that it was easier than you thought it might be?
Yeah, quite frankly, it came very naturally to me, because I have seen a lot of, I do still see a lot of American drama. And with regard to the Indian dialogue, obviously, because it's how we communicate. And yeah, and thanks to all the books I have read, and movies, and on OTT channels, the various series I have watched is what helped me relate to that kind of lifestyle, and that kind of the way they speak, the way they the everything that has helped me a lot in that regard.
Uh-huh. And so tell me about your latest release, the book that came out most recently. Tell us a bit about that, and then also what kind of research did you have to do for that book?
Sure. So basically, the second book was about I'm writing an entire series actually. It's a series of three books. So it's about the three siblings, the Malhotra siblings. So they are an affluent family in New Delhi who are big time big time in the construction industry. So the first story is about the sister Sanvi, who though her father, there's a lot of drama in that story, because there's a lot of family conflict. She is the one who wants to stand on her own feet, and she wants to make something of herself, though her father is against her wanting to go out of the country. And because she has always been very protective, and he has always been very protective of her and everything. But she wants to make sure she wants to stand on her own two feet, basically. So that's the story about how she goes to New York, how she's coping up there. And then obviously the conflicts, how they resolve it throughout the story. And there's her brother Chirag, who is her rock, basically. And he helps her throughout the whole story, on like he stands by her through thick and thin. And so, actually, when I started off Sanvi's story, I did not anticipate that I would write Chirag's story. But everybody who read his story came back to me and they said that you have to write Chirag's story. He's such a charming character. We
Because he's kind of the playboy of the family, isn't he?
Yes, yes, he is. And when it comes to romance writers, the use of the playboy plot is very popular, because it's like the bad boy goes rogue, and then he settles down and everything. So that's the plot that I kind of used in Chirag's story. And his story was where his love interest is his sister Sanvi's friend.
Okay.
So yeah, and she comes down to India to build a B&B on her grandmother's farmhouse. And obviously he's in the construction industry, so he helps her through the process, and the story unfolds.
I love it.
Thank
And
you.
and so book three, you're working on that one now, are you?
Yes, yes, I am working, and it's with the editor as we speak.
Exciting, very exciting. What
Yeah,
can
very
you
much.
tell us about it?
Sure. So the thing is, I just completed my third book in the Malhotra series, titled Beyond the Darkness. Each book in the series is a standalone, dedicated to the Malhotra siblings. My recent book, I felt, was the hardest for me to write for so many reasons. First, it is the last book of the series, and my heart is so full with the knowledge that I would have to close this beautiful chapter of my life.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'm sure many will agree with me, romance readers or otherwise, that when you are very vested in a story, you get so emotional with the characters, and you kind of relate to them on a personal level. So,
yes.
and since I have crafted these characters on myself, so I have that much more intimate emotions towards them.
Yeah.
Yes. And secondly, I have written it in multiple POVs. So that itself was quite daunting for me. From plotting the scenes for each main lead to changing the voice for each character. that was incredibly challenging. So in the first book, I was not very conscious of head hopping.
Right.
Yes. So in the second book, I did try my best, but there were times when I slipped. I am now aware that there were times when I slipped, but now
It's
in my
easily done, Yuktha, really easily done.
yes, yes, that's true. So some may catch it, some may not. If they are into the flow of the story, suddenly if you're diverting the thought process, it's very jarring for the reader. So that's the reason in this third book, I was extremely cautious. I even titled each book based on under the character's name, so that I was rooted. I was rooted that it was from his point of view or her point of view, and I was rooted saying that come what may, I have to ensure that I do not put in other thoughts or some and instances that the particular point of view character is not aware of.
Yeah, and I think you're so right. It is easy to head hop. When we're in the flow of writing, it's difficult sometimes to pull ourselves back and make that realization, because of course we see it all going on in our heads and we see all the conversation happening. It's yeah, sometimes in revision, that's when we can be more aware of that. But so I applaud you for that, for being very aware and being conscientious to say, okay, in this book I'm going to really focus on that and improve that element of my writing.
Yes, yes, sure. And also the thing is, after I received a lot of appreciation from my readers for my previous two books, I felt I had to live up to or even surpass their expectations. So I pushed myself to give it my all, and I was really hard on myself this time. I hope my my efforts have paid off, because when you when you write a I mean sorry when you like a particular author's writing, you obviously have set a certain expectation for the coming books.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was sure that come what may, I had to deliver my best.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. So can you tell us something about what happens in the story? This is with the other brother, is that right?
Yes. So this is about the third. Actually, there are four siblings, but I haven't written about the eldest brother, because I had already introduced him in the first book as he's married and his story was already, set. So there wasn't much I could write. Like I said, I wasn't sure I would, write more books. Otherwise, I would have maybe thought of something for him as well, kept it open ended. But then I couldn't explore that. So in this book, it's about this single dad who has to work alongside with another lady who's his father's who's a part of his company as well, and she's basically his father's right hand, you can say. And she herself is having a lot of conflicts in her life, and there is another negative character who also plays a very important role in the whole story, and the plot revolves a lot around him as well. So Manas is the male lead, and Arya is the female lead, and Dhruv is the one whom I have portrayed in the negative sense. So
Okay.
it's connected, and how they battle their own internal and external conflicts,
Mm-hmm.
and whether love is enough to triumph and to pull them out of their
So is it a love triangle story?
No, it isn't a love triangle per se, but both Dhruv and Manas are competitors in the construction industry.
Right.
They were initially friends until they became enemies. Yeah, so it's not a love triangle per se, but Dhruv is the one who is kind of obsessed with the female lead, and over the story we see how things unfold,
Okay.
and whether she's able to battle her challenges and face them head front.
Well, it sounds exciting. It sounds exciting.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so your book is with your editor now. And how did you find your editor? And is it the same editor you've worked with for all of your books?
No. So basically, my first so editing also is a very there are a lot of things to consider before before you chop down your editor. Firstly is for me, it was something, it had to be someone who got me basically. We had to be on the same wavelength. Obviously, she would have her set of inputs, her expertise, but I wanted someone who would be able to resonate with my character and my story. And also then the second aspect was the cost factor,
Mm-hmm.
because the more experienced they are, obviously, their charges vary. So I had to come to a middle ground wherein it would suit my budget also, and it would be somebody whom I can work on a comfort level also, where we shared a similar comfort level.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sure. So the first book, I had worked with another editor. She was from New York, which really worked in my favor, because the story was based out of New York. Yes, so it was fate, I guess. I didn't know when I signed in with her, I wasn't sure that I didn't know that she was from New York. But then that really worked in our favor, because she too, helped me with particular instances wherein I, as an insider, she gave her, inputs, and we worked around the whole thing to better the script.
Mm-hmm.
And in my for my previous book and my latest book, this editor is from Dehradun. That's a place in India itself, very close to Delhi. So yes, I have started working with her.
Oh, good. So that feels nice that maybe now you're, because it's such a relationship, as you said, the editor has got to kind of get you and your work and the stories that you're telling. But it sounds like you've found somebody who maybe this is a budding relationship that might carry on into the future.
Sure, sure. Now that you mentioned, so basically we are we are kind of good friends now, and other than discussing about my story, we chat on, we regularly chat on WhatsApp, and we also speak to each other, and we share references of books or series that we think we both would enjoy. So
Mm-hmm.
developed a friendship also over the past year.
Oh, that's lovely. It's so nice to hear that it's working so well for you. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, thank you so
Um,
much.
well, I really love chatting with you and learning about the journey that you've taken to writing, the steps that you've taken on your own to learn about the craft of writing and how to structure a story. I love that you've found that confidence to not just to write a story for yourself, but to put it out in the world and see what happens, and then to keep going as well, and to continuously learn and improve and get better. And your stories, I know, will do the same. I'm really excited for you in the next series that you decide to write. And so if any of our listeners would like to learn more about you or see where they can buy your books, where's the best place for them to learn more about you?
So sure, I am addicted to Instagram, mostly because I have such fun chats with so many new friends that I have made there. So it's very crucial to meet with like-minded people. So I am really thankful to such platforms, which gives us the room to to have more people connect with us. And so readers can give me a shout out on Insta on my author handle, which is Yuktha Asrani author. I do have a Facebook handle as well, but I'm more active on Instagram.
Okay.
And then they can connect with me on my website also, which is www.yukthaasrani.com.
Fantastic. Well, I will be sure to link to all of those in the show notes.
Sure, great.
Oh, Yuktha, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed chatting to you, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome. It was such a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found that helpful and inspirational. Now, don't forget to come on over to Facebook and join my group, Turning Readers into Writers. It is especially for you if you are a beginner writer who is looking to write their first novel. If you join the group, you will also find a free cheat sheet there called 3 Secret Hacks to Write with Consistency. So go to emmadesi.com/turning readers into writers, hit join. Can't wait to see you in there. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.